Shut up and sit down.
That's awesome.
Hey, it's where the big boys play. SICW.
Connor. We're live. All right. Welcome to Square Reef Podcast, everybody. Today we are doing a pre-screen of
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse 2, not really Roadhouse 2, this is a remake of Roadhouse, at the High Point Theater in St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm really a big fan of the originals, so we'll see if this one is up to the standards. But we'll review it for you, and we'll let you guys know.
Roadhouse.
Before we start, do you have insurance?
What?
Your coverage good? Like, you have dental?
Oh, haha.
Is there a hospital nearby? Is it, like, too far?
About like 25 minutes, I'd say.
I just slapped you. Are you all right?
What?
Oh. So you like to fight? You ever win?
No one ever wins a fight.
This ain't the Holiday Inn, pal.
I'm moving.
A friend of mine suggested I come talk to you. I own a roadhouse out in the Florida Keys. Lately, it's been attracting the wrong clientele. I can pay you good money. Judging by your car, you need that.
Well, I like my car.
Think about it.
I know who you are. Elwood Dalton. Big fan, man.
That guy's got a knife under his shirt. You just take a big step back and pop me in the face. You can do it.
Tell me about this bouncing. Yeah, it's all nice, like he's Mr. Rogers or something, but then he'll haul off. Really interesting guy, overall.
Brand wants to take the roadhouse away from me. He wants to build some resort.
I should warn you. People have a certain way of getting things done around here.
Hey, fellas. Looks like you're having a smacking night. Dalton! I got a tip for you. Don't let no one get this close.
Let me guess. You know, threaten me. Tell me to get out of town.
I get the impression that you can't be threatened.
Once Knox is on the job, it's over, baby.
It takes a lot to get me angry, but when I am, I just can't let go. People seem a little aggressive around here.
Is that one a friend of yours?
No, I just broke his arm.
Roadhouse.
Welcome to Square Root Podcast, everybody, episode 59. Although, Jim, I don't know how much longer we can say the squared ring. We might have to change it to movie critic podcast. We keep getting invited to press screenings.
Hey, I'll take that too. You know, anything that we can get the name out, Squared Ring podcast, and you know, if you want your movie reviewed, I'll be happy to do it. If you want a video game reviewed, I'm sure Bobby will be happy to do it.
Yeah, Bobby will do it.
You know, so I am down with anything like that. It's kind of cool, out of our little realm. So it's kind of cool for us to go and do something besides involving wrestling or UFC. Well, I guess this kind of involved the UFC, so I guess anyway, if you guys haven't I guess you're gonna put that clip in the beginning of there where we're standing outside the movie theater. But we got invited to see Roadhouse, the new one. I'm going to butcher the names because I'm horrible with names, but Jake.
Gyllenhaal.
What's his last?
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, okay. And Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor. I can just put this out there.
Roadhouse.
Anyway, so we got invited last night to see the pre-screening before it hits. It's not going to theaters, so I guess before it hits Amazon, to be able to be
Yeah,
streamed.
premieres on Prime on the 21st.
Yep. So I don't know. What was your take of the movie there?
I like the first one. I'm kind of a purist when it comes to remakes, and I didn't go in expecting much. But for the first, I'm going to admit I'm going to give it like a 4 out of 5 stars, just based on its own and forgetting that the first one was ever done. The plot was it
It had a lot of
felt
holes in the plot.
yeah, it felt like a 1980s, 1990s plot where they were like, okay, everybody hates what's coming out now. Let's take it back to where it was just pure action. The fighting, 10 out of 10, loved it. Connor, of course, is Connor, and he a little over exaggerated a bit his character. And sorry, Connor, you look like a cartoon in it. But
that might have been what he was going for, like one of those, characters that are, outgoing or
flamboyantly
flamboyantly
Irish. To the point, a couple times I'm looking at the screen going, I did not understand a word he just said.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I expressed in our last podcast that Roadhouse was a staple in my father's house growing up. We watched it probably once a day, especially during the summer times when growing up, we didn't have school during the summer. Like I said, we didn't have cable growing up, so we lived off of VHS tapes. Back then too, we spent a lot of time outside, not like today's kids where they got to be inside playing video games and, the sun freaks them out.
I think it's different than parenting. Yeah, I was going to say, not to interrupt you, I think it's a different than parenting because I was always told don't come back until it gets dark. Go outside
Right.
and don't come home till it gets dark. Now it's, touch grass for a couple minutes and come back in and then stay quiet and don't. That's where kids are now. But
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I guess we watched it for the nighttime, after it was dark and you were supposed to be inside, that's when we watched it, or just to pass time. But it was a daily thing, if not daily, definitely every other day we watched that movie. And going into it, I assumed that it was going to be like the original one. So let me there's a term for this movie. It's called re-imaging, meaning they take the title, some of the characters, and some of the plot, but then they re-image everything else. And that's what they did. So this is not a remake per se. So you got to go into it knowing that and not knowing the original Roadhouse. Because if you are a fan of the original Roadhouse, this is not the movie for you. And I say that because Roadhouse was this.
yep.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched the original before we went to the press screening, just so I could remember all the lines because I wanted to pick up on it. I knew I've been to the reimagining stuff before, and some of the camera angles made me dizzy. It's like with our camera guy there. When we were leaving, I go, "This is an example of what not to do when we're at our shows." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, I told him, "You remember when I told you you're quick because you are the action cam and you're doing quick movements?" I go, "It makes the audience dizzy and can make them sick." I go, "And you saw it there. Don't ever do that."
Yeah, you seen it on the fight sequence. One of the fight sequences, you can tell that one of the actors was wearing the camera
Yeah.
to kind of give it that 4D, I guess it might be, look to it. Uh, yeah, so just to go back on what I was saying, it's they took, you can't even say they took the basic storyline. I mean, they really took the thinnest of the storyline of a guy has to go to a bar and kind of clean house and get it back up and running. That is really what they took from the original movie. The rest of the movie, they kind of redid. This character has got a UFC background, which to me, they didn't really explain. And like I said earlier, that there was holes in the plot. So they kept backshadowing to him fighting this guy in UFC, and that he kind of went overboard.
Not too many
And
spoilers.
Right. Well, I mean, they'll be able to see it tomorrow. So, but he kind of went overboard, and supposedly this guy was his friend, and he still went overboard. But they didn't explain why he went over, why he crossed the line. They didn't show how close of friends they were, or what happened to make him get so furious or anything. So I mean, that right there was like a hole in the plot for me. And
It's a big hole because at the end where you kind of get that explanation, it doesn't close it off. And
yeah,
sorry, MGM and Amazon, but Roadhouse is not one of those movies you're going to make a sequel out of. So there was no need to leave anything open.
yeah. So, and then through the whole plot, so the new Roadhouse, this rich guy's kid is trying to take the property over, basically, to fill his big plan to get this, I
Do
guess,
something.
resort or something like that for some rich people.
Well,
But
yeah, our review will be out 2 days before everybody else can see it, so we don't want to give them too much.
Well, I don't know. It has a whole bunch of holes in it, and they didn't fill it for me. Even one of the fight sequences, the very first fight sequence between the two main characters, at the end of the fight sequence, Jake's character Dalton walks off, and the other guy, who's the antagonist, the bad guy, the heel, doesn't do anything. He walks off in a different direction. Now, there was no cops involved right then and there, so he could easily just finish the job that he was there for, but he doesn't. He lets the guy walk off, and he walks off in the other direction. I'm thinking, well, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, at that one, I looked over at you, and for people there, Curtis Wilde was there. He was a bouncer for 7 years. And when I looked at you, he chose turning around because he was in front of us. He turned around, looked at you, and looked at me. He's like, "What just happened?"
Right. Well, I mean,
That's why I was looking. I looked at you, and I was like, "What happened?" They're fighting, and then it's just done with no explanation of why it's done.
right.
I mean, I like them fighting multiple times in a movie, but there's why? Why did
I truly feel that they could have came up with a new name for the movie, and it would have been great just to have a new movie about this UFC fighter who went AWOL and moved to a small town and took the job and tried to bounce. That could have been its own movie right there. And, it could be in the theaters because it's actually a really good movie on its own.
This is a good movie on its own for me. 4 out of 5. I mean, Jake, great actor, so everything was good for him. But I never really You know, I never really saw Jake as an action guy, but well, if he
Well,
can act more than that, he did pretty good.
he did a great movie called Southpaw that I like, where he was a boxer. That was a really good movie. But yeah, on its own, this movie would be great. You know, and I would view it as that. If it didn't have the Roadhouse name attached to it, I mean, they could be making money. I know there's a lot of things going back and forth about this movie because the director wanted to make it a theater release, but since Amazon bought MGM, was it MGM Grand or?
Well, United Artists owned it first, but United Artists bought the rights to Roadhouse from a smaller um, production company, one that's just a little bit bigger in our gym, a little bit.
Yeah,
And then MGM bought it from the rights from United Artists, but it took so long for them to make this movie that United Artists lost those rights and reversed back to the previous rights owner, which filed a lawsuit, which goes to court tomorrow if they didn't settle yet. I haven't heard for that purpose.
right.
So even if they did do a release, they wouldn't be able to release it on time unless they quickly come together.
Yeah.
So that's why now it's just a straight Amazon thing and not MGM and Amazon.
Well, that's the thing. No, I've seen the post that Amazon bought MGM Grand.
Oh, they
So
bought the whole thing. Okay.
They bought the whole thing. So, and originally when they did set up this movie, they talked about it being a theater release.
It'd be great. The
but,
ending needs to be redone just on my Control Freak thing because they added in a new character 3/4 of the way through the movie. Just boom, he's there.
Yeah, another hole in the plot. Like, why is he such a badass? What did he do? You know,
All because he had scars on his knuckles. Oh, you want a job? Oh, okay. I think, and the character was funny, but it's no offense to that actor, but
you're talking
his
about the
talent,
bartender.
right? His talents were wasted. I think it's a editing choice and not a right one. At least from my point of view. It doesn't detract from the movie for me. I mean, at this point, I'm nitpicking, but you can't close every hole that you make when you're doing it, when you're editing a movie like this, but it could have done just a few tweaks and it would have been better.
Yeah, they could have definitely filled in the plot holes a lot better. Like, why did they even need to mention that the rich kid's father was in jail? He could have just been, there's a rich kid who wants to do this, and it's such a bizarre thing because it talks about that this place is the holdout for him to do it, but right down the street is the bookstore, the gas station that they spend a lot of the movie at.
Yeah.
So
and not only that, if she's the only holdout, why are they burning down places they already bought? I mean, that didn't make sense to me either.
Right.
They had to have a way to bring him back in to make him, okay, now I'm going to lose control.
Yeah.
It just, 3 people wrote this film, and I am not sure if they've ever written a film before or if they were in the same room when they wrote it, because it feels like none of them talked to each other and they just did a shuffle and pages went into place.
Right. And I hate to say that it sounds like we're dogging the movie. The movie was good, you know, and I think it could have been a blockbuster in the theaters. I just think personally, since I'm just such a guy for the old Roadhouse, that it shouldn't have had the name attached to it. They could have made it just the guy's name who was an ex-UFC guy, you know, and like I said, but other than that, I liked the movie. It had a lot of action. It had a lot of funny scenes.
Especially the ending. the after credit ending, that was probably the funniest, the funniest scene.
Well, I mean,
I
it
gotta
had some.
say, and it was with a guy that's really not that funny, Connor. So, I mean, it was just
Well,
funny.
they even had some touchy feely, good for your soul heart type thing, with the kid that's in the movie
Oh,
and what
okay, yeah.
happened, her mother and to their store, so it had all the emotions, I guess. So it, like I said, it's a really good movie. It just didn't need the tagline of Roadhouse.
Well,
Jake does a great
like,
job. O'Connor does a great job. The other, it kind of it strikes me funny that whenever someone remakes a movie or re-images a movie, that they always change, the characters from guys to girls, or vice versa, or it just, you know, why change that? Um, the songs, the original Roadhouse are all bluesy, songs, and I'm not too sure what to classify the songs that they were playing during the film.
well,
Um,
they took popular songs and remade them to blues with a jazz twang to it. I like the music. I enjoyed it.
I mean, I'm a big Metallica fan, so it was kind of nice hearing Inner Sandman changed up a little bit.
Yeah.
But the other songs, I really couldn't tell you who they were or what the song was, but to me, Roadhouse is a bar that, it's a biker bar that no one wants to go to unless you're brave and tough. And then when you see him walk into this bar that's done up
Like a
like you
tiki
were,
bar.
yeah, like a tiki bar, is just so different. you know?
Well, I guess the big question is because Bobby had more important things to do with his family and his son, second in state, representing us, the square ring well. Would you recommend Bobby paying money if it was in the theaters, if it had gone to theaters, which I still think it can? I think it can make its budget and make a profit.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you
I
think,
mean,
would you recommend people going to watch it?
I would recommend people to go watch it. Anyone who's a fan of UFC, because UFC is throughout that whole movie. Anyone who's a fan of Jake um, or even O'Connor, those people would go watch that movie. Um, the older generation, I like to say I'm part of the older generation who uh, would expect something more like Roadhouse. You might be disappointed, but this newer generation probably don't. I mean, shoot, Roadhouse is like 33 years old. It's it's a movie from the past. So the
there
newer.
was there is a film critic there that I was talking to, and he does this 130 movies a year. He has 129 more movies to do. And he invited us. And I'm like, we're not film critics. Like, we just get invited because some of these people watch our stuff. They're the few that watch. So they invite us because they like, Jim and Bobby. And I just, step on their coattails and they drag me along. But he, man, I forgot my point. What were you saying right before I interrupted you about this guy?
I was just comparing it from the original Roadhouse theme versus what they could have been.
Yeah, because he was telling one of the producers, Sean, when we were talking to him. Oh, well, it was gone. It was funny last night. I'll think of it again later on and say it in our next screening next week. But it had something to do with, he walks up and he goes, I like the original better, 2.5 stars. So that poor producer, he was just everybody walking in because they're all guys like us that watch the original and like the original. Oh, this is what it was. He goes, I would have gave it more stars if Sam Elliott was in it. In my head, I'm thinking, I look at James, I'm thinking, Sam Elliott's like in his 80s. What is he gonna do?
that is kind of weird that they didn't have any cameos.
Well,
Most of the
Sam
time when they
Elliott
do.
died in the first one. What's he gonna do? And he's in his
Well,
80s.
no, but the main girl from the original movie, she's still alive.
Yeah, they
The
should have
other
brought her in.
blonde, that was like the heelish blonde girlfriend, she's still alive. Quite a few did pass away from the movie. A lot of the guys that were part of the boss's crew, they're all still alive, and most of them went on to do more acting.
Yeah,
So I mean, you
there were
might
no
know them from
funk.
other
I
things.
I did expect some funks in the movie, and there were none.
Well, I mean, Dory could have popped up in there, but unfortunately, since Terry passed, he wouldn't be in it. But they could have done one or two
Remember
things.
the
But
first bar was called the Double Deuce. I was waiting to hear the audience. I was waiting to hear, because they consider me press. They don't consider me the same as you and Bobby. So Sean was like, well, you're press. You're going to be sitting over here. And I tell Sean, I go, no, I'm sitting down with everybody else. I'm not sitting away from them in some special little area. So I'm going to sit down. That's when they came and got me to introduce me to other people up there. The president of the Battlehawks organization, they brought me up there, which we need to have a sit down with Herb about that too.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, so like I was saying, this generation of kids and young adults would probably love this movie. I too, just out of the movie itself, would probably give it 4 out of 5 stars. I just can't compare it to the original because that's when I start taking away the stars.
If compared to the original, sorry, MGM, Amazon, Jake, and all that, it's a 0 out of 5 compared to the original, just because I like the original so much. If that makes me a hick or a redneck, I could really care less. The original is just a good movie. Just turn your brain off and watch, and it's great.
Yeah.
But
like I
going
said,
back, in the original one, the bar's the Double Deuce, and I'm listening for everybody on if they recognize when the Double Deuce popped up, and nobody whispered and nobody said anything.
Oh, it was the restaurant.
Yeah, the restaurant next to the bookstore.
Yeah.
And that played 0 significance in it, and it should have.
Yeah.
He should have, Dalton should have lead. And then there's nothing in the film about why he's a Dalton. None.
Yeah,
You don't. I'm waiting to see if he's a son or a cousin or a nephew or a brother to the original. Well, not a brother, but there's nothing on why he's Dalton.
Yeah, and that's why I said they, I watched a couple things about it, and they said it's a re-imaging. It's not a reproduction or a
Then they should have
reboot
changed
of it.
the name.
Yeah, they should have just changed the name. But then again, they're probably hoping that they can pull in the older audience with the name and with everything about the movie, the younger audience. So I can see that, but it probably just ruined it for all the older audience,
Although I did get questions and I had no idea, because our program could be bigger than it is, but we don't push it and advertise it a lot. We just like doing it. But I heard from a couple people that I don't know personally there on how come you and I didn't invite Ira, because that would be perfect, since he's a UFC champ for his weight class. And my question is, how do you know we know Ira?
Yeah.
I go,
well, last I heard wasn't he in training somewhere else?
yeah, he went to New Mexico to help train for the upcoming TV fight with, oh, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, so I mean, he was already. I mean, but it's cool that they knew that we knew him. So I mean, that's always cool that we're at least getting out there. And if that guy talks about having us come out there and watch some more movies and give the reviews, I have no problem with doing that. And just note that I'm going to be a little honest. Just like we were for the Iron Claw, just like I am for this one. Like I said, great movie for the new generation. They would love it. It should just not have been attached to the Roadhouse name.
Yeah. Turn your brain off, and unless you want to pick up on nuances and a little bit of the lines thrown in, ignore that the first one was ever made, and you'll enjoy this one a lot better.
Yeah. So I mean, and I'm sure other people is given that same, mind aspect of what I think about it. But
yeah, from what I heard last night, talking with one of the producers, he was not having a good night.
Well, again, a lot of the people that were there was the 40 and older crowd. It wasn't the 20s or the 30 younger 30 crowd. So everyone that was there grew up watching the original movie. But if they would have invited a whole bunch of younger crowds to come in there, or younger people to come in, I'm sure it would have been a totally different reviewing that he would have got back from them. I'm a wrestler. Bobby's a wrestler. A lot of wrestlers showed up for that last night. Like you said, the Wilds were there. Jason Breed was there. We all grew up loving Terry Funk, and Terry Funk was in the original one, and he played such an iconic badass of a character. And for not having a wrestler in there, that could have been a drawback for some of them. Wasn't a drawback for me. I can care less if there was a wrestler in there or not. It's just that the old movie was such iconic and has high standards for me that it didn't compare to this. This one didn't compare to that. But going forward, I would love to incorporate this.
My thing went all freaky.
But I would love to incorporate something like this into our channel where we do this from time to time. One, it's just really cool to be able to go and see a movie that the general public doesn't get to see for a few days, or in case of the Iron Claw, a couple of months, and I mean, that's just cool. And I would love to do that some more. So if we get the hook up on it, we'll get the hook up, and then we'll review the movies coming forward for you guys as well. Maybe
and I want to give props to Amazon/MGM. When we did the Iron Claw press pre-screen, we had a whole bunch of rules we had to follow. And they wouldn't even let us do a lead-in while we're at the theater for it. Amazon MGM, not only did they allow us to do it, but they gave us the movie board to do our little intro before going in.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they gave us the movie board to put in the studio. So they only had one. So props to them of, just being more mendable.
No, yeah, definitely. And, you can go both ways and in and out. Studio A24 gave everyone their posters.
No, I love A24. Yeah, A24 does a lot for us. They even promoted when we were doing for us. They did a post on their social media for our review, and especially for when we had James Beard on talking about it. So, no, I love A24. I love the guys there.
Yeah, they're all just a little different. The one last night gave out souvenir cups that had Roadhouse on it, and it had a slogan on it and everything like that. So,
take it outside and be nice. Things. Which Never was said in the whole
Yeah,
damn
never was
movie.
said in the movie. Ain't that funny?
Yeah, the slogan with the cups. I didn't grab any of the cups because I'm not into that sort of thing. But
I think it was. I grabbed them just because it was nice to have like a little momentum of what movies we were first able to get into this YouTube channel, and because we got the posters from the Iron Claw. Now I got the cups I can throw in there. I think
and I
this
got the
is. We're gonna look back at this and think, man, those are the first two movies we were able to review.
yeah,
And
and that's why I grabbed this. Well, I didn't
yeah,
grab it. They gave it, but not like I grabbed it and ran out the door. Start the car. Let's go.
right. Um,
I only did that streaking down Main Street in California with my football helmet on. Start the car.
All right, not to change subjects, but since we are on the podcast this Friday, you guys can catch me in Indianapolis, Indiana. There is, not to confuse this name with our name, but the Squared Circle. What's the name of it? Squared Circle. Man, it's a legend gathering, just kind of like the one we're having in May, where we have over 60. They don't quite have, man, I don't even think, I think they got about 30 wrestlers, maybe 35. But we're going to go out there and scout, me and a couple other guys. So the Wrestling Comic-Con, I guess you would say, that's out in Indianapolis, Indiana this weekend. It's a Friday and Saturday show. You'll be able to see me. So if you happen to run into me, just let me know. I'll sign a couple autographs for you, take a few pictures. But me and a couple guys are going out there just to see if there's one or two more that we can bring back and join our Mayfest show. So that'll be kind of cool. There's the likes of Sting that's going to be out there.
Yeah, see if you can get Stinger in, huh?
That would be great if we can get Sting to come on. He's just retired from AEW and still doing these appearances. So it looks like he's done wrestling. But if we can get him in for an appearance at the Mayfest show, that would be great.
Yeah, an appearance
Matt
on Square
Cardona's going to
Ring.
be out there.
Yeah, talk to Matt about his stupid little replies to us with just smiley faces and winks.
But yeah, so it should be interesting. It's going to be it's not a long drive, but we're going to do it way early in the morning so we can get, because like, I want to say doors open at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. And so we're going to leave from a friend's house about 4 in the morning to get there, so we can get there pretty much when it opens. But it'll be interesting to see if there's anyone that we can bring back and put into our Mayfest show, which is just right around the corner, man.
It's
2 more
getting here
months.
quick. Like
Everything,
last year's too. We kept talking about it, and bam, it's there.
yeah, and there's some other things that maybe next week on our podcast that I'll reveal a little inside scoop. Hopefully by then I can reveal it and that it's set in stone. I don't want to. Yeah, there we go. There's our poster there. We have a great list of legends right now. And
there's so many legends coming, they can't fit all on one poster.
Yeah, so definitely Herb Simmons and SICW is outdoing themselves from last year. Last year we had, what was it, 50? This year we got over 60 already. And even though we're a couple months away, there's still more. And we're going road tripping this Friday to try to get some more. So it's kind of crazy. Herb said it on our podcast, but by the time that this show rolls around, it could be over 70. And for anyone who's a wrestling fan, this spans all generations, all major promotions. You know, there's AWA with Greg Gagne and Stan Hansen. There's WWE with Tugboat.
The original NWA with, I think, some that were in NWA and NWO in the later years.
Right, and there's you know, they cross everything: WWF, WCW, NWA, AWA, WCCW, New
SICW,
Japan.
the best out there.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a lot of people that you can come and see and get the autographs, and plus, you know, Herb stressed that when he was on our podcast that he's trying to keep everything really cheap. You know, it's kind of crazy what people charge for these fan fests to even get in the door, and then the crazy amount of prices that they charge per autograph or per picture. Herb Simmons and SICW is keeping it on the cheap because we want as many fans as we can to come in and enjoy themselves and stay for the wrestling show, stay for the St. Louis Hall of Fame, and come in early for the one-man show that's happening Friday night. So it's going to be really cool, and it's just going to get better. And hopefully next week I can release what I know, which I think will just throw it through the roof. Plus, there is an idea of who we're going after this Friday. So it'll be kind of cool if I can come back Monday and let you know if we get them or not. And just try to add it on to that 60 plus legends in the house, you know.
The biggest and the best in the nation.
You know, this is probably one of the biggest fan fests, yeah, like you said, in the nation. You know, they have the gathering up on the East Coast, and there's WrestleCon down south, I think. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of these fan fests, but this is probably going to be the cheapest one for a regular fan to come into and get the autographs that they want. So definitely going to be well worth it. And I'll plug it. It's sicw.org. That's the website you need to go to buy the tickets. It'll also give you a link to go get hotel rooms because this is all happening in a hotel. And it'll just be more convenient for you if you stay there because all the wrestlers are staying there. So it'll be more convenient for you as a fan to stay where the wrestlers
Squared
are.
Ring is staying there.
And the Squared Ring is staying there. So it's going to be very cool. It's going to be a weekend to talk about for the rest of your life.
Till next year, and we eclipse it with 100.
Oh, my goodness. It'll be crazy. I don't even think anyone's brought that up to Herb about it. Oh, three-peat. I think we got to get past this second one, this hurdle here, before we think about that.
I was talking to Herb about the deadlines for True TV broadcast and all that, and he goes, there's just so much going on that we're barely making the deadline for stuff to go on True TV.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because there's more and more stuff in the works, and if you're not a member of SICW or come to the shows, what are you doing?
Yeah, Herb has got his hands in a little bit of everything. You know, the big race car, NASCAR show that's coming up.
Yeah, I was going to say, how could you not want to be an independent wrestler and be out in front of a couple million people on ESPN?
Right.
Not when you're not being owned by a different organization. Everything is on you. I mean, how could you not? How could you pass up an opportunity like that?
Yeah, and you know, some people aren't. You know, Herb's getting people, you know, knocking on his door every day, either by a phone call or Facebook. You know, the guy lives off of Facebook, so if you need to get a hold of Herb, just Herb Simmons on Facebook, and you know, possibility you might be able to get on a card because we got a lot of great cards coming up. But yeah,
a lot of great integration with other territories coming up. I mean, it's going to get bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we team with Mid South. We team with Memphis area. We team with New Breed. More of the St. Louis area and ACW. Mid
Yeah.
states. I mean, there's
Hopefully, the Searchers, ACW, and SICW will team up in the future. I know
oh
you wrestle sometimes at ACW.
yeah. There's a fair that they did last year together, and I think they're going to do the same fair this year together. So yeah. So I mean, constantly teaming up with other organizations.
And
You know,
hopefully, we can put something together with SICW and the Battlehawks.
in the what?
Battlehawks.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So that might be something new on the horizon too. So you just never know. We'll be here to let you guys know the updates on everything. If anything changes, like we had that Haku thing that changed. He got double booked, and we might still on it the other day be rescheduled. I would love to get. And he wasn't booked.
Jim, you're fading in and out. Is there an emergency there? In case anybody doesn't know, Jim works for the government for natural disasters and emergency service.
Yeah.
Not to
I
put
don't
your
know.
business out there, but I don't know if the camera there in your office is fading in and out because you're freezing.
Are we good right now?
I don't know. You have your hand on your beard like old Lou Alzada.
Well, that's because I am old.
No, but you remember Lou? He used to hold his beard like that when he would talk to Mean Gene.
Yeah, well,
That's
he
what you
also
remind.
had a rubber band in there too, holding it
That
together.
is true. Okay, now you're clear. It burned through whatever the problem was. But yeah,
Okay.
when you did that, it reminded me of Lou.
Well, the Anvil used to do this a lot too. When he was, especially when he was doing promos with Bret Hart, as they were the tag team, and he would constantly just be in the back. Bret was the talker, Anvil was the muscles, so he would just be in the back, just combing his beard.
Yeah. This is shameful to me though. But the last thing I saw with Bret Hart in it, even going through all the footage I have to go through to find things to put out on our page, was The Simpsons when he was on there for buying Mr. Burntown.
Hey, I tell you, that episode was really cool for him, and they actually made a figurine of the Bret Hart Simpsons character, and it's very expensive and very hard to find. So if you find it, keep a hold of that sucker.
And well, there goes that. I was going to say for the squared ring, we need to go hunt this thing down. But if it's that rare, we may not be able to.
Yeah, I mean it's out there. Everything's out there, but it's for
So,
the right
guys,
price.
if you want to donate the figurine for the studio at the squared ring, it may end up in the local Hall of Fame here. We'll lend it to the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Because like what you were saying last podcast, I mean, there's a huge history in Belleville, not only for wrestling, but for massive amounts of other things. And hey, if somebody wants to donate to us, we'll donate it to the Hall of Fame and put it in there so people can see a very rare figurine of Bret Hart on Simpsons.
Yeah, there you go.
If not,
All right.
we'll find it somehow and we'll keep it in our studio. Actually, what would happen is it would go to Jim's studio in his house. That's all.
There we go. That sounds even better. Anyway, didn't want to keep everyone that long. It's not really a regular podcast that we got going on. We really just mainly wanted to focus on the movie that we were able to see last night, Roadhouse. So again, we'll just recap this. Great movie. If you love UFC, if you love an action movie, go see it. Well, not you can't go see it. Go rent it, at home or stream it at home. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. I think the 21st is when it comes out. So, yeah, definitely watch it. It should have been in the theaters in my book, but also in my book, it should never carry the Roadhouse name.
No.
But other than that, great movie. Go watch it.
For the squared ring view is if you ignore that the first one was ever made, 4 out of 5. If you way too heavy on the first one, a 0 out of 5. So overall, still 4 out of 5. Watch
There
it.
you
If
go.
you don't have Amazon Prime, get Amazon Prime. No, we're not sponsored. We're just throwing that out there because they did us a solid and brought us in to do a press pre-screen. So, mutual cooperation.
There you go.
Go
And
watch
they
it. Get
didn't.
Amazon Prime to watch it. If you don't have Amazon Prime, I think you can rent it for $14.99 on the 21st.
Yeah, I'm not too
Or
sure.
whatever it is. I don't know. It could be $1.99 for all I know. I don't do that type of thing, so I don't know.
Right. I have
Unfortunately, we just
Amazon, so I watch a lot of stuff on there. So not too bad of a price compared to the other packages and other places that you can get. Um, But yeah, so in the future, if anything else comes up or there's a movie that's coming out and we get the access to it, we'll give you the review, good, negative. I'm gonna be just brutally honest. When we see these things, we tore a little bit of the Iron Claw apart, but overall, the Iron Claw was a great movie as well. Same thing with this. This movie is a great movie. Tore it a little bit apart, just on our opinions. But that's why they come to us and have us review the movie for our opinions. Yeah, so go watch it. When you got time on the 21st or some other time after that. And in the comments section, let us know what you think about the movie, and let us know if we hit it on the head for you, and that you agreed with us. Also, do me a favor, let us know your age, because I would love to see the feedback on the age of you versus if you loved it, or the age of you and you didn't like it. I just think people over 40 are gonna compare it to the original and not really care for it. But I'm interested in the feedback, so definitely leave a comment on there and let us know your age and if you liked it or didn't like it. And if you love the original one, let us know about that too, because I loved the original. But
and on the podcast we have very exciting 2 legend matches coming up. One I've looked for a year and a half that I was finally able to find, which next week is the February 11th, 1983 NWA Championship bout, the marathon 1-hour bout against Bruiser Brody and Ric Flair. No, I did not post the full hour. It's only going to be a condensed 22 minutes. If you guys want the full hour, we can do that as well, but it has to reach a certain amount before we do that, because that is a long match.
yeah,
Then
it's a great match too. I've watched that
Yep.
match so many times.
Then we have Gene Kaninsky coming up this week.
Perfect. Well, anyway, guys, if you like our stuff, subscribe, like, comment, share it. It's only going to benefit you guys because we'll be able to get across to more platforms and more subscribers and get the word out. It's great. But for the Squared Ring,
Long movie studios, production companies, and legends, they love us, but they're the only ones that seem to watch.
yeah, well,
No, I take that back. Our last one has over 4,000 views, so that's great, but still.
there you go.
Pump it out
Hey,
there.
we're still young. If you like it or hate it, let us know. That'd be great too. But for the Squared Ring podcast, for Nate, for Bobby, who's missing, and for the Big Texan, thank you for tuning in, and we love you guys. So keep spreading the word. Thank you.